Hello, everyone. Welcome to Commerce Chats. It's great to see everyone, and also just having a quick little look at who's joining us today. It's nice to see some familiar faces, people that haven't joined us for a while. So welcome back to Commerce Chats. Just a quick reminder for those of you that have joined us for the first time or have joined us after a short break from us. Commerce Chats is EICOM's educational initiative twice a week, just to bring some interesting conversations to the table, bring some challenging debates, some knowledge areas that maybe some of us don't talk about enough, but it's a place where we can talk about e-commerce. We can talk about e-commerce in a safe space. There are no questions that are off limits here. Everyone's got a different experience, different background, so feel free to unmute your microphones, ask some questions, interrupt our guest speaker as well. Turn your cameras on, make us feel like we're in the same room. Also, put some questions, comments in the chat. Commerce Chats is really powerful when we all get together and add our thoughts, support for each other, or just questions that we may have. If you haven't already, follow our social media links, social media profiles at EICOM Institute. We have Instagram, we have LinkedIn. We're active on there as well. We're always promoting different things or talking about different things. So interact with us there. It's always a good opportunity to see what the community is talking about and see how everyone's feeling at the moment. So without further ado, without taking up too much time, we have an amazing guest speaker today. We have Sofia with us, who is a solutions architect at VTEX. We're going to be talking about a really interesting topic. It's interesting because I find it a bit of a mystery. But it's also very powerful as a topic. And this particular topic is powerful when we're talking about replatforming in e-commerce, when we're talking about new pages, when we're talking anything to do with Google, which is obviously, the search engine that everyone uses. So hopefully our guest speaker here is going to demystify some of the things surrounding this topic. But without further ado, I'm going to give it over to our guest speaker. Sofia, over to you.
Thank you so much, Krish, and all the e-commerce chat team for the invitation. For sure, it's a pleasure to be here, sharing this space with you and so many incredible people. I saw the presentation last week from Pablo Pazos about metaverse, and it was just like so amazing. Also, the previous one from Paulo Pinto about PNL, also very, very interesting. So thank you so much for having me here. And I will start sharing my screen. Just a sec.
Just while you're sharing, Sofia, they were really good presentations, I thought. We had a lot of feedback. People found them really insightful. If you want to join Pablo and Paulo and Sofia here as guest speakers, then, get in touch with us, share your knowledge. But just a quick plug there for Commerce Chats. But yeah, go for it, Sofia. Over to you.
Thank you. So today I'm here to talk about SEO and how do you rank higher on Google. But first, let me introduce myself. So my name is Sofia. I'm an engineer and solution architect at VTEX. And my work basically consists of implementing e-commerces following best practices for high performance, SEO, and high conversion rates. So I want to start this presentation with some statistics. Did you know that 93% of online experiences start with a search engine? So how many times do you go on Google, YouTube, looking for something that you need to buy or a place that you want to go? So if you have an e-commerce, it's important that you know that your consumer is constantly doing searches, and being on top of these searches is fundamental to have good results. Because always remember that if you're not number one in the ranking, for sure your competitor will be. So some of you may be wondering, okay, so then what is SEO? SEO stands for search engine optimization. So in simple terms, it means the process of improving your website to increase its visibility when people search for products or services related to your business in Google, Bing, or other search engines. And the better visibility your pages have in search results, the more likely you are to gain the attention and attract prospective and existing customers to your business. Also, some marketing specialists like Neil Patel, for example, call SEO your 24-hour salesman. And that's because no matter what time of the day or what country people are in, when they are searching, you can be found. You're getting the traffic, and some of it will eventually end up converting in sales. So basically, like, if you stop paying money to Google or whatnot for paid ads, your traffic will die down. But with SEO, if you don't do anything, like for a whole week, you don't pay anything, you don't even open up your wallet, you can still continually get traffic. And also, it's very important to mention, because I hear a lot of people saying that, but I need to submit my website to Search Console in order to be ranked on Google. And that's not true. Actually, Google will eventually find you. The thing is that, for sure, Google's Search Console helps you understand and improve how Google sees your website. So that's why it's important to submit your website to Search Console, but it's not something you need to do mandatory, okay? Okay, and as Jimmy Wales, the founder of Wikipedia, says, if it isn't on Google, it doesn't exist. And even when you are on Google, the ranking is crucial, because did you know that 0.78% of Google searchers click on the results of the second page? I mean, like, when was the last time you searched something on the second page? Yeah, like almost never. You need to be like really desperate trying to find something to be searching on the second page. So basically, if you're not on the first page of Google, it will be very, very difficult, or maybe almost impossible for someone to find you. So that being said, how can I rank higher on Google? Well, you should know that no one knows exactly how the algorithm works. Many experts say that Google is all about reverse engineering the mechanism of the algorithm to understand what works and what doesn't. And the SEO techniques have evolved a lot in the past years. And there are a lot of things that were true in the past and that are not true anymore, and things that are true today that were not true in the past. But as Bill Gates mentioned in 1996, content is king. And 25 years later, this remains absolutely true. If you want to rank higher on Google, the first thing you should be doing is writing great content. So having high quality content on your website is one of the best ways to increase traffic and improve your search rank. In fact, Google itself said on a blog post on Page Experience that having great relevant content on a page is more important for ranking than the page experience. So make sure your content is mistake-free, keyword-rich, mobile optimized. Mobile optimized is a very, very important point. And writing to address the specific needs of your target audience. Besides that, I always also recommend including valuable links on your content. So links that mentions external and internal pages is also something very important to do. Second most important thing, build authority. Be a reference for the content you are providing. And backlinks, that are the links from other websites to yours, are one of the most heavily weighted Google ranking factors. So incoming links to your website content from high authority domains show your website's authority. Besides, that brings traffic to your website and improves your search ranking. And there are many successful tactics you can use to build these valuable links to your website. But of course, it doesn't happen overnight and takes some work. But for sure, building authoritative links is crucial to your SEO strategy. But then like some people ask like, okay, so then, but how can I make people like start writing something about me or pointing their content to my content? And it is a hard job for sure. I would say like the first thing is try to start creating relationships with other leaders, with other influencers of your industry. So then they can start creating content and pointing that content to you. You can also offer to write content for their websites. And then if they publish that content, they will be linking to your website. So, and then
So, Sophia, I just got a quick question for you just on this topic. You know, when it comes to SEO, in my experience, sometimes I think, you know, we have people that kind of, sometimes it's a practice where we kind of throw a lot of money at SEO, and in terms of a budget, you know, we work sometimes with agencies. How do you feel about that in terms of, is that an answer to it? Is throwing money at a budget to get ranked higher, to become on the front page? You know, I feel like it plays a part, that we know we have to allocate a budget, but how much of this should we know versus how much should we just pay for an expert to provide? What are your thoughts on that?
It's difficult to say how much you should be like paying for an agency, or you should, because it always will depend on the industry, your strategy. But I would say try to create content in-house, try to have good specialists inside your industry that can create this content. For example, inside of VTEX, we have a lot of experts about many things that could be creating and that are creating a lot of great content, you know? So maybe you have a lot of people like that are just working on different things, and they could also be writing valuable content for your website. So I mean, you can also be paying an agency to do that, but if you can do that internally, I always recommend that, because you will always know better your industry than an agency that you're hiring. But of course, like sometimes you don't have the time, you don't have the people, so it's easier and better if you hire someone to do that job for you. So
Yeah,
it really
that makes
depends.
sense. Yeah, and it must be, you know, it's quite a nuanced situation where you have to judge whether to use your budget or whether to train your staff in-house or to utilize it. We've got a question from Samuel Legrand or a comment rather. He's saying, paid media generating, does paid media generate links to your e-commerce increase the authority? And yeah, I'm wondering if you have any comments about that. You know, I feel like a lot of the things that we talk about in SEO when it comes to Google, none of these things are written down in a rule book for anyone. So a lot of people, like you said, are reverse engineering the algorithm. What do you think about that? The paid media, does it generate? Well,
I
yeah.
mean, it will be generating, everything will be generating authority to your website if it's coming from high authority domains, you know? I mean, if you pay for someone to start linking you, but that website doesn't have any authority, that it's not really valuable, you know? So
Yeah,
then
that makes
actually my question it is about obviously this fact as if generate, because the idea behind that and the question for you, Sophia, that I want to understand is it possible to grow e-commerce without paid media, just with SEO? Yes, because I receive many questions from new entrepreneurs asking me, oh, I want to start e-commerce, but I don't have money to invest on paid media. So I can advise them, oh, start just with SEO and you will win the shelves, you will the rank.
Yeah, for sure. For sure, you can be well ranked in Google without paying a cent. Like, that's for sure. I mean, paid paid ads and everything will speed up, you know, the process of being noticed in Google. But if you have a good SEO strategy and you're creating great content and you're looking for the keywords that your target audience is looking for and you're creating that content for them, for sure Google will be ranking you higher. So it's not necessary to spend money. You don't need to pay an agency. You don't need to pay links. You don't need to pay anything. You can just sit and start writing great content. Focus on the keywords that your target audience is looking for, and yeah, you can be very successful doing that.
It's interesting that. Thank you, Samuel, well, for the question and the comment. Please, anyone jump in and give some feedback. Would you say, Sofia, that it's harder without paid media? Would you say that it's more sustainable perhaps to, while it has its place, it might be more sustainable to actually learn the best practices, to educate ourselves on the things that we can do ourselves without paid media? Or do you think it has a place?
Yeah, I mean, it will be faster with paid media for sure. But in the long term, you need to evaluate if this is something you can maintain, you know, because you will need to be paying for that forever. You know, it's not something that like SEO that you will build and it will be there for free for you always, you know. So those are like different type of investments that you're doing. One of them is on the long term, mid long term, and the other one is on the short term. And Jean says here, Wikipedia doesn't need paid content to be well positioned. Exactly. So that's why people are always, Wikipedia is creating great content that people are interested on looking, you know, so then they are very well ranked. So that's exactly it. Great. So, and last but not least, technicalities. So improve your page speed. Load time is one of the key measurements in Google's recent Core Web Vitals upgrade. So it's a good idea to make sure that your site is as fast as possible, both to improve your search rank, but also to improve the user experience. Optimize your images. Optimizing your images is crucial to boosting the speed of your website, and it makes it easier for Google to identify the images on your website. Make sure all the images on your website are compressed, have descriptive file names, and include alt texts. And use H1 and H2 headers. Headers tags are also a great way to show the structure of your content and emphasize your key points. Okay, so now that we have seen what can make you higher, what can make your site go lower. So bad performance that ends up also causing a high bounce rate. So the combination of those are like very, very bad. Not being mobile friendly. Being mobile friendly is crucial to Google. So if you're not mobile friendly, for sure Google will penalize you. And duplicate content. Duplicate content is also like a big issue for Google. There are a lot of other points, but these are the most common ones that I have seen. And now I want to talk about another topic that tends to be very problematic when it comes to SEO, which is e-commerce replatforming. And for those who don't know, e-commerce replatforming is a process of selecting and switching to a new e-commerce platform. Online retailers migrate to new platforms to improve functionality, improve performance, the user experience, and replatforming can mean moving to a third party or building an in-house e-commerce solution, for example. And just as an example, for example, it could be migrating from Magento to VTEX. And then when doing this process, it's very important to create a migration plan to avoid losing relevance. This is a very hot topic when we are dealing with replatforming, because it can become like a nightmare if you don't do this migration plan, and because you can lose like big part of your relevance. So the first thing that I always recommend is redirects. Build your redirects very careful. It's very rare to simply switch platforms while keeping the exact same URL structure across your website. So it is very important that you spend some time working on the redirects. And personally, I highly recommend my customers to create one-to-one redirects and not many-to-one. And many-to-one, for example, for those who don't know, many-to-one is when you have like a lot of product pages and you just redirect all of them to a single collection page. Okay, so then all those pages, when you were searching and people were finding that product page, now they will be redirected to just a collection page with a lot of products, and that can lower your conversion rate. That can rise your bounce rate. So I always recommend, like, if you can spend some time building these redirects, please do, because this will be very important to maintain the relevance that you already have. Okay. Second thing, mobile first approach. So some years ago, Google announced that they had officially prioritized the mobile version of the website to rank pages. Okay, so this means that having a fast mobile first SEO and e-commerce strategy is like a must-have to rank higher on Google. So I always recommend my customers, like when they are building the layouts, when they are building the wireframes of the new website, I always recommend building the mobile version first, because many of them start with the desktop version. But actually, when you start looking at the numbers, when you start analyzing analytics, the almost like 70% of their customers are coming from mobile. So then why are you like creating a new website looking for the desktop version first, you know? So try to build the layouts and everything and the experience on mobile, and then you can just adapt the mobile to the desktop and not doing the way around, you know? So this is also something that can increase a lot the mobile experience, and this will make you rank higher also in Google. And third point, take this opportunity to rethink your SEO strategy and ask yourself questions like, is my content valuable and helpful to the readers? Are people really looking for the kind of content that I'm producing? What type of content that your target audience is looking for? So try looking at the keywords, you know, search for the keywords that your target audience are looking for. There are many tools that you can use to do that. For example, Google Trends. You can type the keywords there and see how many people are looking for that keyword, and what about this other keyword, and then start building your content based on that, because otherwise you're just creating content without knowing exactly what your target audience is looking for. And then, like, am I using the keywords that my target audience is searching for? Because sometimes you have all the content and everything, but you're not using the keywords that your audience is using. So then Google is not understanding that content has those keywords. And also, it's very important to include those keywords also on the URLs. So are my URLs short and sweet and containing the keywords that my target audience are looking for? Because that is also an important point that Google will look at in the moment that it's ranking. Okay. Okay, so that's basically it. Thank you so much. I hope this was helpful. And if you have any questions, just let me know.
Yeah.
Or...
Well, thank you so much, Sofia. We